This is the Skip Bayless Show, brought to you by Underdog. I'm about to tell you why the Kevin Stefanski hire in Atlanta was shockingly, mind-blowingly wrong, and why I loved Baker Mayfield for calling out Kevin Stefanski, and why Raheem Morris should have never, ever been fired in the first place. And how now Jerry Jones has to open that checkbook of his for Raheem Morris. Gotta do it, Jerry. And how, as I look back, the harder I look, Josh Allen deserves far more criticism than he got, starting with me, for the way he played at Denver mind-blowingly poorly. And how, in the end, the Pittsburgh Steelers and their new head coach would be mind-blowingly dumb to run it back with Aaron bleepin' Rodgers. But we got to start with Stefanski. How did this happen? How did Raheem Morris get fired? I question it from the moment one. If you look hard at what just happened, he did finish tied for first in his division. And even though it was at 8-9, he did finish tied for first in his division. Technically tied for first. Didn't get to advance, tied for first. I love Raheem Morris. Obviously, he's a great defensive mind. I think he's a great leader of men. He was hamstrung by his quarterback position. Michael Penix playing poorly, getting beaten up, getting hurt, and then stuck with what's left of Kirk Cousins. I love Raheem Morris. And yet they go from Raheem Morris to a coach who went 8-26 the last 2 years in Cleveland, a Kevin Stefanski who is completely, utterly overrated, a Kevin Stefanski who I called out again and again for his mistreatment of A, Baker Mayfield back in the day, and B, Shedeur Sanders this year. Kevin Stefanski does nothing more than talk fluent owner. He's great with owners. He was great with Ziggy Wilf in Minnesota, sort of the assistant head coach there. And he was great with Jimmy Haslam, talking ball with Jimmy Haslam and Ziggy Wilf, making them feel like insiders inside the inner workings of the football team. Kevin Stefanski is smug, he's arrogant, he wants more credit than his quarterback for any success that the team has. Kevin Stefanski wants you to believe that he's the smartest guy in the building. The last 2 years, he was calling the plays, and then he very shrewdly said, oh, I hand off the play calling this past year to Tommy Rees, because he wanted to dodge the media bullets for what he knew was the mess that he had been instrumental in creating in the first place. A coach who threw up his hands, waved the white flag, gave up on play calling. Each of the last 2 years just got hired by the talent-rich Atlanta Falcons. What was Arthur Blank thinking, because Kevin Stefanski will do nothing but shoot blanks in Atlanta with that roster? What was Matt Ryan thinking as the new chief advisor to the Atlanta Falcons that he once took all the way to a Super Bowl? What were they thinking? They were thinking that they liked the heck out of Kevin Stefanski because he speaks good Matt Ryan language. He speaks good Arthur Blank language. He can really talk a great game, can Kevin Stefanski. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts are going to be wasted by Kevin Stefanski. Baker Mayfield put Kevin Stefanski on the map in 2020. Baker Mayfield led that team to an 11-5 record in its first playoff game. Let's make it playoff win since 1994. game since 2002. But first playoff win. They went to Pittsburgh and beat their arch rival at Pittsburgh. First playoff win, what would that be? 20 plus 6, 26 years. It was all Baker Mayfield. I'm a big Baker fan, was since his days at the University of Oklahoma. He's a leader. He's a winner. He's a playmaker. He put Kevin Stefanski on the map, and Kevin was hard on him publicly. Stefanski's a silver-tongued devil in these press conferences, starting to shift all the blame onto Baker. Baker started to get beat up behind that lousy offensive line. In that final year, his shoulder was wrecked. He needed a clean-up surgery. They shipped him out for a 5th-round pick. They just gave him away to Carolina. It took a while, but the rest is NFL history. 11-5 in 2020. That's the biggest reason that Kevin Stefanski just got another job, because of Baker Mayfield. And Baker just blasted him, responding to a tweet from an Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporter that said that Baker failed in Cleveland. And Baker took exception and took that opportunity to fire back at Stefanski, who I blasted again and again through late 2020 and 2021. Blasted him again and again on television and on Twitter at that point. And Baker wrote back in response to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution tweet, still waiting for a text or call from Kevin Stefanski, after Baker said he was shipped out like a piece of garbage. And Baker concluded in his tweet response, can't wait to see you twice a year, coach, obviously in the same division. I can't wait for Tampa versus Atlanta the next 2 times next year. Kevin Stefanski is a dumb dud of a hire by an owner who doesn't have a clue, and by a Matt Ryan who's clearly yet another player who just played, who doesn't have a real feel for what works in football, who doesn't have a real feel for that roster or that city or the vibe or the flavor. Kevin Stefanski fits none of the above. None of the above. I don't think Matt Ryan fits any of the above. I don't think Arthur Blank fits any of the above. Fits the city or the team. My God, you're wasting all that talent. It's just a shame what Arthur Blank and now Matt Ryan are doing to the Atlanta Falcons. How did Raheem get fired in the first place? He fits. Which brings me to my Dallas Cowboys. Raheem Morris suddenly became the hottest defensive coordinator candidate on the market, because obviously he coordinated a Rams defense to a Super Bowl championship. Raheem will be in the running for several of the head coaching jobs, probably starting with Arizona. But now he has deep, strong connections to Kyle Shanahan, Matt LaFleur, Dan Quinn, obviously in San Francisco and Green Bay, Washington. They know him well. They know his value. They'll be in hot pursuit. All 3 of them, for sure, will be at the top of Raheem's list. But the team that has to go get him is my Dallas Cowboys. This is do or die for Jerry Jones. That's how important this is. That's how good Raheem Morris is at coordinating a defense. Jerry Jones has said that you wouldn't believe the size of the check that he would write to win a Super Bowl. One more Super Bowl in his lifetime. He's 82. This is the man. This is the key. This would be the difference maker for the Dallas Cowboys. Raheem Morris would immediately become, to me, even more valuable than Brian Schottenheimer, which is not hard to be because I'm not convinced about Schotty. I'm just not convinced after he went 7-9-1 as the play caller. Dak had great stats for the year, but poor stats in several games that really mattered. Starting with speaking of Arizona, the Monday night game at home, when my offense managed to score 10 points against the Arizona Cardinals, who were on their way to firing their head coach. 10 points we scored at home on Monday Night Football against Arizona. That's a fireable offense right there. I know Schotty's a great guy and the team supposedly loves him, but the team loves him for all the wrong reasons because he's too easy to play for. There's no Jimmy Johnson in him whatsoever. This team needs a leader of a defense. Obviously, Eberflus was a disaster. He was a disaster as a head coach in Chicago, and you saw what happened as soon as they inserted Ben Johnson into the equation. You saw what happened to Caleb. You saw what happened to the football team, that they went into overtime against the Rams, and Caleb still hasn't cleaned up his act enough to avoid the interception in overtime that lost the game after he had almost all but won it with that almost inhuman throw at the end of regulation on 4th down. The Cowboys reached stupidly for Matt Eberflus, just because he had been there for a long time as an assistant and Jerry liked him. These owners make calls on candidates that they interview that they just like. They just like them personally. They speak the same language. Maybe Raheem doesn't speak Jerry's language. I don't care, because he speaks locker room language. This is the one where Jerry Jones should make Raheem by far the highest paid defensive coordinator in football, if not head coach paid. Make him... there's no salary cap for how much you pay your assistant coaches or your head coach for that matter. Jerry Jones could write Raheem Morris a record-breaking check. He would be worth it. The defense, obviously, for the first time in Dallas Cowboy history, and I go to the start being a fan, for the first time in Cowboy history, we finished dead last in points allowed. Raheem would fix that. He would very quickly turn that around and make us at least credible on defense and give us a chance with our offense. I assume they're going to slap the franchise tag on George Pickens, and he will not like it. But he's a sensational football player, best deep ball catcher, tracker catcher that there is in the league. Shocked me with how well he runs after catch. We could have an explosive offense next year, but we need a defense to match, and Raheem would do that. Raheem would revitalize the locker room, revitalize the football team. He could operate as sort of the unofficial head coach. He could be there if Schotty fails again next year and you need to elevate Raheem into the head coaching position the year after. But he could be the co-head coach next year. Jerry, you have to go get him. He's got the pick of this litter, and I'm sure it would be hard for Raheem to look at this Cowboy defense and say, yeah, I'll take that over going with the San Francisco defense or the Green Bay defense with Micah Parsons, obviously, or even the Washington defense that got old right before your very eyes. He loves working with Kyle and LaFleur and Dan Quinn. Probably Kyle would be his number one choice, I'm going to guess. He would think that would be his quickest path, but maybe it would be the Micah path. I don't know. All I know is these are 3 NFC contending type teams, if Washington got healthy and a little younger, that are all threats to the Dallas Cowboys. The move of the offseason would be Jerry Jones just going and buying Raheem Morris. That would reboot the Dallas Cowboys. That would give us a chance to be the factor that we should have been last year. We went 7-9-1. That is unconscionable. that is unacceptable, that is unbelievable to me, with a schedule that I still say by NFL standards was easy. It was a pathetically bad year, and Raheem Morris could fix that, Jerry, if you just go get him. Just do it. There's no law, there's no rule except the unwritten rule of we don't pay coaches like that. Maybe Raheem would be too big a threat to Jerry. Maybe Raheem's personality, his charisma, his natural leadership. Jerry just needs stooges, puppets that he can control. I'm stuck with Jerry Jones. Jerry just wants to do something right, do something big, do something that matters. Shock the NFL world by going and hiring Raheem out from under everybody else who's hot to trot for Raheem. I was hot to trot for Josh Allen. I thought Buffalo was positioned to win the AFC. And now this is what I know about Josh Allen. He has the most playoff wins and the most playoff starts without a Super Bowl start of any quarterback in the entire Super Bowl era. That's Josh Allen. He's good enough to get you this far, but not that far. This far, but not that far. Sean McDermott was not to blame for what happened at Denver, a game that I had lots bet on with my man Aqib Talib on Arena Gridiron. If you haven't checked it out, it's the hottest show out there. It's the smartest, hippest, funniest, wildest NFL show out there, and we can't wait to take it on the road to the Super Bowl. I hope I see you there. Arena Gridiron on the Arena YouTube channel. Check it out. We'll be on Monday, 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern. You can certainly watch all of our clips. But I had a big, bad bet with Aqib that had been building all season, Josh Allen at Broncos. And Josh Allen did not get nearly enough criticism. I gave him my share, but not nearly enough national criticism for the stinker that he vomited all over the field at Mile High. It just stunk and stunk and stunk some more. Let me quickly detail just how bad Josh Allen was in a game that he was one play away from winning in overtime. This game should have never gone to overtime. Buffalo is better than Denver. Josh Allen obviously fumbled twice, once late, very late in the first half. Just a careless loaf of bread fumble. Benito managed to knock it free. It really just came loose from Josh. He was just trying to be Superman, getting careless. He's still human. And it gave the Denver Broncos a very quick last-second 3 points to end the half. And it was a psychological killer for the Buffalo halftime locker room. Superman did that. And then they come out, get the ball to start the second half. And Josh Allen got strip sacked from his blind side by Nick Benito, who's been doing this to everybody all year long. It has to be a critical part of your preparation that you know that once or twice a game, he's just going to beat whoever's going to be Deion Dawkins. He's just going to speed rush him, beat him to the outside usually. He's just lightning quick, just shot out of a gun quick, that at least one time he's going to get you from the backside. You have to have eyes in the back of your head for Nick Benito. And you have to have the focus and the perspective to know that you're going to get hit a couple of times from the backside, and you have to hang on to the football. This is it. Just one turnover on the road at Denver can be lethal. Just one. And he gave them another one on a strip sack from his blind side to Nick Benito to start the second half. And they get 3 more points. You just can't. It's just 6 crucial points. And you lose in overtime on a walk-off field goal by 3. You can't. And now to 2 plays near the end of regulation. These are, the more I look at them, the more I rewatch them, the worse they get. The first one came with 4:16 left in the fourth quarter. Buffalo is up 1 point over Denver. This is, again, at Denver. It's 3rd and 8 at the Denver 32. 4:16 left. And Joe Brady, who may be the next head coach now of the Buffalo Bills, calls the perfect play. It's a tunnel screen to Shakir, who can scoot. And Josh Allen throws it in the dirt and one-hopped it to Shakir, who's obviously wide open. And Shakir scooped it off the turf and bolted with it, and you could just tell that it tricked the Denver defense. Did they slightly hesitate because they thought the ball hit the grass? Yeah, but you could just see what was happening. Shakir went ahead and just ran for a touchdown. You can say, well, they didn't go all out to stop him, but it was not immediately crystal clear that it one-hopped. Josh Allen just made a poor pass. It skipped to him just off the turf. It was, I don't know, a foot or 2 short. He picked it clean off the grass and scored with it. If you hit him in the hands, he just well might score. And if you score, you're going to go up. You just kick the point. So you'd go up 31-23. You'd have an 8-point lead with 4 minutes left. It's just a throw that Superman can't make. And then they kick the field goal, so it's 27-23. And then late in regulation, they're driving for what became obviously the overtime making field goal. It's 3rd and 10 at the Denver 32. This is the play before the field goal. And I don't know how Dawson Knox did it, but he broke wide open at the 5-yard line. And there was traffic in the pocket. I got it. But this is Superman. This is Josh Allen, that most people think is the best player in pro football. Well, he has the most overall talent, size, arm, athletic ability. He's got all that. He's got the best package in pro football. And he overthrows Dawson Knox by 5 yards. If he hits Dawson Knox at the 5 with a catchable pass, it's possible Dawson Knox scores. It's very possible. Go look at it. Tell me what you see. Maybe Surtain comes off and gets him. Maybe one of the safeties. I don't know. It's going to be like 3-2-1. And they still have a timeout left. So they're going to get a crack at winning the football game. Not going to overtime, winning the game. And he missed it by 5 yards, which brings me to Josh Allen's 2 interceptions. Tell me I'm wrong about this. Go look at them. The first one to Curtis Samuel, who was just elevated onto the active roster for this game off IR. Curtis Samuel smokes the Broncos defense, which I've told Akib again and again is overrated. It's not all that. Curtis Samuel is gone. The ball has to be delivered about 3 more yards, maybe 5 more yards. That's how gone he is, because he's going to catch it over the safety in the end zone. And the safety, P.J. Locke, is able to cut underneath it and pick it because Josh woefully underthrew it, shockingly poorly underthrew it. You just can't. Not in a game like this. You can't underthrow that ball that badly and it gets picked. And obviously you get nothing from it. You go from a possible 7 to 0 points because of Josh Allen, which brings me to the fateful final play in overtime. The throw to Brandon Cooks, the controversial one that wasn't controversial. What everybody missed, actually Josh Allen got a break on this one. Go look at it again. Brandon Cooks is gone on McMillan. He is gone. He's got a complete yard stride on him, and Brandon Cooks can still run. This ball is, 3 yards underthrown. Brandon Cooks has to slow down and wait for the throw to get there, which allowed McMillan to get back in the play and draw a bead on the football. And obviously, Brandon Cooks has both hands on the ball. He's a smallish receiver, not stoutly built. Most receivers, if they get 2 hands on the football, they're going to come down with it. And he had 2 hands on the ball, but he did not complete it to the ground. When he does hit the ground with McMillan rolling on top of him, he loses control of the football, and McMillan had his hands more and more on the football as they went to the ground. If they both have that simultaneous possession, then tie goes to the runner, so to speak. It's a tie goes to the offensive player, and it would have been a completed catch, but he didn't have simultaneous possession. He lost possession as he hit the ground, and obviously that is not a completed catch. The catch was completed by McMillan. But it started with the underthrow. If the ball is thrown 2-3 yards farther, we're having a very different conversation because Buffalo is going to win the game. If that ball is completed, Buffalo wins the game and advances to the NFC Championship game, in this case back in New England, where Buffalo had gone on a 35-10 run recently in the rematch game at New England. 35-10. They were down 21-0, and they romped and stomped home to win that game at New England on a 35-10 run. I would have loved their chances to win that game and get to the Super Bowl against the Rams. I would have loved it. Loved their chances, but no. Superman turned into Blooperman. These are bloopers by his standards. Blooperman. I just detailed all of it, and obviously James Cook, we have to throw that in there because they're driving to go up 14-3, are the Buffalo Bills, and James Cook got stripped by Alex Singleton because he's not always careful with the football. James Cook has a lengthy reputation for spitting it up, and he spat it up, and it cost them the touchdown that would have made. Could they hang on to 14-3? I think so. Superman, Blooperman. So should Sean McDermott have been fired? Well, obviously he wasn't the reason they lost this game, but I did not have any issue with firing Sean McDermott because to me, he's just solid. If you want to try to change your luck because you do have a nuclear weapon in Josh Allen, I'm fine with that. And there's no doubt in my mind that Josh Allen was saying quietly behind closed doors to Brandon Beane, who he loves, the GM, who kept his job and got elevated, promoted. Obviously, Josh Allen was telling Brandon Beane that he does not love Sean McDermott. I never loved Sean. I just think he's just a solid football coach. He's just, as I said on Arena Gridiron, he's like the best vanilla ice cream you have ever tasted, but it's still vanilla. He has no real charisma to him. He has no it factor to him. He has no dynamic leadership to him. He's just a good, solid football coach. And if you want to try to change your luck, God bless Terry Pagula. What is he, 74? Just wants to try. Let me try this. Let me just see if I can change the scenery around Josh. You're obviously not going to give up on Josh Allen, but maybe if you change the internal vibe a little bit with somebody else, maybe it's Joe Brady, maybe they bring back Brian Daboll, who Josh loved. You have to cater to Josh and just hope that he could clean up some of this act. But in many ways, this has to be his worst playoff game at the worst time, at a time when I like their defense. Their defense just makes plays. And offensively, you can't argue with 10 out of 15 on third down, and they went up and down the field. They had 449 total yards, so you can't argue that. You're going to get that from Josh Allen, but I've got 6 bad mistakes that cost, each one of these cost the game, and I'm not even counting that James Cook is the 7th. That's how you lose. That's how I lost the dinner bet. I bet on the wrong horse. He's a thoroughbred, but I bet on the wrong horse. I'm going to just throw this out real quick. I just became a big Curt Signetti fan. We had a knockdown, drag-out argument yesterday on Arena Gridiron about this. Keep laughed at me, Keep Talib, about Signetti translating to the NFL. But listen, Curt Signetti did the best single coaching job over the last 2 years I've ever seen in either college or pro football. The best. That Indiana team was a machine. It was the best coached football team in college or pro football I have ever seen, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. All 3 phases, beautifully, perfectly coached. Won the game on a blocked punt for a touchdown. That's coaching. He would translate. If I'm Terry Pagula, I know he's pledged allegiance to Indiana and college football and has been a college lifer. Signetti has. I got that. And he's positioned to maybe be dynastic at Indiana of all places. But thanks in part to Mark Cuban funding the operation. But you got to have the brains at the top, and he is the brains. If I'm Pagula, I just go open the checkbook and say, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. You got to come here. You got Josh Allen. Let's go win a couple of Super Bowls together. That's what I would do. But that's just me. Which brings me to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't even, people say this is a great job, but when I look hard at what the Steelers have done, or Mike Tomlin didn't do, so he won a Super Bowl 17 years ago and went to another one that he lost to Aaron Rodgers 15 years ago. And since then, it's been, what? It's been nothing but miss the playoffs and first-round exits, even though he's never had a losing season. He had 500 seasons, but never had a minus season. But again and again, they either missed or lost the first playoff game. And the last 7 were all losses. Hadn't won one in 10 years, obviously. Last 7 were all losses. And in each of those losses, they were down by 21 or more points at some point. Well, how long does tradition live? You know what? And the problem with the job is, yeah, it's got great fans who travel. I got that. Great long ago tradition, but not, there's no near past tradition whatsoever. And they don't have a quarterback. Will Howard, is he the answer? He took Ohio State to the national championship a year ago, obviously. They got him in, the 6th round? Mason Rudolph. And so I'm reading that Steeler brass ownership, the GM, that they loved Aaron Rodgers. He was on his best behavior at 41. Hanging on for dear life. He's washed, as in washed up, completely up. So his last year in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers finished in QBR, my favorite quarterback ranking stat, he finished 26th out of 31 qualified. 26th. And Green Bay said, that's enough. See you later. That first full season with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers finished 25th of 32 qualified quarterbacks in QBR. This year, he finished 23rd out of 28 qualified quarterbacks in QBR. So 26th, 25th, and 23rd. I guess you could say he's getting better with age. But these are all horrible rankings, obviously, for a once four-time MVP quarterback. His average QBR in those 3 years was 42. It's scaled on 0 to 100. 42. He's below average or worse. In his last 3 years as a starter, Aaron Rodgers is 23 and 27. 23 and 27. And you're talking about running it back with Aaron Rodgers. You want him back. The locker room loves him. It'll be just another disaster for the next head coach. He'll have his moments. He can still wing it occasionally, but he has, I'll say it again, he has no more nerve for standing strong in the pocket and making the throws that you have to make. At least Josh Allen does that. Bo Nix was really doing that until a football tragedy happened. And Aaron Rodgers is still the all-time blame-deflecting, finger-pointing diva, and he was doing it again the other night after the game as he went on and on about the uncharacteristic mistakes that his team made against the Houston Texans in that playoff game. Monday night at home. He said, we had such a great week of preparation. I'm so surprised by all the mistakes that we made. They made, not me, that they made, his teammates. That's vintage, classic Aaron bleepin' Rodgers. And if you bring him back, Pittsburgh, if you force him on the new coach, Pittsburgh, I say good luck to the new coach because he's going to look a whole lot like the old coach had over the last 10 years.